Hi, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is our chart lesson for Tuesday, July the 10th. We had a nice downtrend today. Before I get started talking about the trades, I'm going to show you a couple of quick secrets that I use. I wouldn't call them secrets, but they're just little tricks or things that can help you. Here's your first leg down. Notice that this was the first break of the trend line, and then you start a second leg down. And really, the trend didn't start to right here. And if you put the trend right there, you can see that's exactly where basically got us to the closes. But even if you put it right there, I mean, that's close enough to. So that was the target I was shooting for on any runners. If I caught any runners in here, that was my target. And doesn't mean we're going to get there. Sometimes you overshoot it, and sometimes you undershoot it. But on a weekday like this, when prices have been pretty much down all day except for this little correction right in here, that's you know you figure prices, there's a good chance prices are going to remain weak and keep moving down. But let me show you this too. You should have been able to find this first trend line, and if you just copied it exactly, you can see that's an exact. Let me get it exact. There's an exact copy of that trend line, and then you drag it down here. Amazing how that fits right in there perfect. So that's how you find your trend line for the next move down. And then also, I'm always talking about your short-term trend lines. If you drew your short-term trend line right here, what do you know? You got your break, then you went back for your retest, made a perfect double top, but it's the downtrend, and so there's your setup, and then there's a second entry in case you missed that one. But let's talk about the trades. Hopefully that made sense to you there. Those are the kind of things I'm always looking at. This actually should have been up here because we had this little double bottom across here. We really had a double bottom right here, but we also had another set of support across here. But this is where I started the day with this line right here. And we had this failed break above it. We pulled back. It looked like it was going to try to hold and go higher, but it kind of got through there and then went higher. But look how far we are away from the EMA. It's never smart to enter that far away. You want to wait for something back here if you get a good setup. So you might have even went short there because this is right at the open, and that's that little trap you get. I didn't mark it because it just really was not clear what we were going to do. And if you had this trend line, we had no real break yet. Um, but I really think this was more of a trading range across here than it was a trend. And you can see that was probably pretty true because we never even we came back and tested this trend line. And that's sometimes on a short-term trend, that's all you'll get is a retest of the trend line. You won't really get a break to a new high or whatever. So, but this came back and tested the breakout area, the former resistance area, and it held to the tick and turned down, and that's a very negative bar. So that's a little breakout pullback short right there. And again, there was some overlapping bars, but if you saw what was going on, you should have figured, hey, there's a good chance we could come down here and test this one, and prices just took off. And so this was a great setup. If you took this one, you had to ride this little pullback. But again, this bar was coming off this trend line too. So you had multiple reasons to be thinking short. This is a pullback to the trend line and all that. And there's two legs. You got one leg down, pull back, and then there's your second entry short right there. And it was a nice setup. If you missed it, you definitely should have taken this one. And you might have even waited to here to enter because this one, but this is a little doji on a breakout pullback off the trend line. And so it was worth risking the entry right here. But even if you waited till right here, your runner still should have been safe. And this was a nice, easy 3 or 4 points in here, depending on how you entered. And then this is a two-legged pullback to the EMA with a trap. You had this little double top across here. And we broke higher and hit the trend line and turned out immediately on a reversal type bar. There's your entry. Again, any runners would have been safe, and they were good for from say 43 to 48 or so. So there's another 4 to 5 points depending on how you played that. And if you held on, you could have gotten the whole day. But I exited out of here. Um, just because, you know, we had this double bottom, and I'll explain that in a minute. This trade, I put this arrow here because it's iffy. Um, Generally, I like to see a touch of the EMA or the trend line, and we didn't get either one of those there, but we had the support down here, and at this point, you should have been also looking at this leg right here and looking at this correction and thinking, hey, we may make a measured leg. And you see, we didn't quite get there, but that was because of this strong support, and when we broke above, we failed instantly, and that's a clue that we might correct for a little bit too. Um, you know, you don't want to be trading off that alone, but if the rest of the pieces fall in place, then you want to consider that. So that's the reason I marked this iffy long, because we came up short. This is a higher low. We've got this strong support. We got a failed break, so we probably got trapped shorts right here. And then when it went lower again, we probably got some more trapped shorts. But notice how we couldn't get any closes below those previous closes over there. That's a good sign that support is still acting as support. But again, it's iffy. The trend line is just right there. The EMA is right there. But if you know and understand price action, you figure, well, this is probably where we're going to break the trend line and get our break, and that's exactly what happened. So, but I drew the arrow there because it is iffy. It is a little more risky trade. But if you took it, any runners were good, and you could have, until you got this double top or this break of this trend line, you could have, you know, held any runners and maybe got a couple of points out of them. There wasn't enough movement there to really brag about runners. In fact, I marked this trade mainly because I took it. And what I did was, as soon as we started overlapping here and we broke lower, I exited. And I think I still got a point out of my runners or whatever there. But anyway, then you got a double top kind of right across here like so, and it probably would look more like that. And then so you came up here and you made another double top and turned down, and notice we had the trend line break and then a pullback and a retest of the high. So that's a nice little place to go short. There's plenty of room to get out down here, but even if you missed that one, you could have entered again right here. And this one, your runners definitely would have been safe, and so you could have caught another 5 to 6, maybe even 7 points out of those runners right there. Now here again, we've got another iffy setup right on this one, and this should have been red. I don't know why I got that blue there. But this is a second entry short. And this is a repeat pattern of this right here. That's all this is just kind of like a repeat pattern. We went into this range, and you notice it doesn't look exactly, but it's close enough. So if you saw this and you took it, it was probably worth the risk, because you figure we're probably going to get another leg at least like that one before we get any kind of correction. And if you draw that first leg, and then there's the second leg, and you can see that's exactly where we went to. And then we kind of started getting this correction again. And that's what you would expect. And so I was looking for another leg similar to this one. And so it was worth taking if you were still trading at that point of the day. And it's iffy. Again, there's a lot of overlapping bars, but you do have a trap here. You broke higher, and then you tested that same area. You should have been dragging your line down. And it's kind of a double top in a downtrend. And it's also a second entry short. And we tested this area twice, and it held as resistance. So that's a good sign. And so if you saw it and took it, okay. If you didn't take that trade, there's reasons why it's not the ideal setup. So, but I felt like it was worth mentioning because it's a repeat pattern, and some of you might have seen it. And you know, when you get a really down day like this, you're looking for reasons to enter short, and there's a reason there, even though it's not the best setup. This one was really good here. It's coming off the trend line. We did have the measured leg down, and then we went into this trading range right here. And so, and look how we broke higher above these other tops here. I would really say your line should have been like that. You're getting the most touches. And you see how we broke a little bit higher, just right to the trend line in reverse. So going short right there was a good trade. Plenty of room to scalp out before we get down here. And you can see we broke lower and bounced. It looked like it was going to be a failed break lower. And if you'd entered down here, look what would have happened to you. You would have got trapped and it went lower. So that's why I was saying no here. This was risky, but we did have our measured 2 legs at that point. And let me just see where this one would have been. We would have been getting really close to, I think, on this leg. So yeah, you can see we were looking for it to come down here, so that would have been another reason not to enter right in here, because we hadn't quite made a measured leg. But you don't know that you would get that. You could still get a bounce right here back to the, but look, there's not much room in the EMA. And so that was exactly why I was saying this one was risky. And it worked this time, but it didn't work this time. And so that's why I'm saying those type trades are, counter trend trading is not generally a smart idea. But again, this too was not your overnight low, and this was. So that gives this more credence. Anytime, usually your overnight highs and lows are going to give you fairly strong support and resistance. They're kind of key points that you can expect to get a bounce. And this down here was not an overnight low, and this low actually was lower than this one, and this low was lower than that one. So we're still making lower highs and lower, or we're not making lower highs, but we're making lower lows all the way across here. And so that's not a good sign either for going long. If this would have broke lower here and then made a higher low, that would have been a different story. And notice, see how that's a higher low. So hopefully that makes sense to you too. I want to try to explain those things. But that was pretty much it for the day. There was another entry here, but it's, it's 3 o'clock and you don't want to be entering then. So I really didn't even like this trade, other than it was a perfect setup because it's after 2 o'clock. And really my kind of drop dead cutoff time is 2:30. I don't like to trade after noon. If I make my goal before noon, I'm usually done. And one reason is, and it's not that there's not good setups in the afternoon, but if you make a mistake early in the day, then you got plenty of time to make it up. But if you make a mistake late in the afternoon, that's pretty much going to shoot you in the foot for making your goal for the day, or maybe not even for being, or maybe for not even being profitable for the day, because you don't have time to make it up. And then and it's something psychological about knowing that time is there and you got to be out, and it makes you eager to get in a trade because you got to make your money back and so forth. So I tell people, really try to make your money in the morning if you can. If you can only trade the afternoons, and just, you just got to be a little bit more patient, and you can't afford to make as many mistakes either. I mean, you don't want to make any mistakes, period, but you definitely don't want to make a mistake late in the afternoon. But if you make a mistake early in the morning, you got time to make it up. But once you make a mistake late in the afternoon, you've got limited time, and it's going to be hard to make it up. But anyway, that's it for today. I'm going to call it a day. I've been talking all day. I've had some long phone calls today and so forth, and so my voice is kind of petering out on me again with this head cold I've had. But hopefully you had a good trading day. It was a nice downtrend. If you didn't, hopefully you see what I saw today and what you should have been looking for. And we'll do this again tomorrow. So we'll see you next time. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com.